Time is our weekly conversation on matters of faith, and joining us this morning is Rabbi David Tokajer with Congregation Mayim Chaim. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
All right, we wanted to talk about Sukkot, which comes to a close tomorrow.
Correct.
What is that?
Sukkot is a 7-day festival. It's a time of rejoicing. It's a time when we were commanded to build what's called a sukkah, or a temporary dwelling place, and reminds us of time that we spent in the wilderness.
What does it commemorate especially?
Primarily it commemorates, like I said, the time in the wilderness. Israel spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness before entering into the promised land of Israel. And as we go into the promised land, things start to develop, we begin to prosper, and part of the beauty of Sukkot is that we have an opportunity yearly to be reminded of where we came from and where God has brought us.
How is it tied into some of the other major holidays of Judaism?
It comes 5 days after Yom Kippur, so right after the 10 days of awe, which are Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, and so it's a time of rejoicing, a time of celebration, a time of remembrance, immediately after the time focused on repentance and teshuvah.
Talk to us a little bit about the food for this. Are there any particular foods tied to Sukkot?
Oddly enough, there really isn't. Sukkot is one of the only Jewish holidays that there isn't a food that's particularly common to be used, although it's never a bad idea to have challah or chicken soup or noodle kugel. And then because it's a harvest festival, it's also common to have fruits and vegetables and such as a part of the accepted menu.
What are some of your favorite memories for this time of year?
For me, one of the most beautiful things about Sukkot is that it's a heavy concept of Lador Vador, which is a Hebrew concept from generation to generation. And so it's an idea that we pass on our traditions, our beliefs, our customs to our children through an actual physical interaction. And so for me, it's always the time of seeing the joy on my kids' face as we're putting up the sukkah, as we're camping out, whatever it may be, and getting to answer questions that they ask about why we're putting a sukkah up, what it means, what's going on, why we spend 7 days celebrating this, and so on, and getting to feed into my kids about our people's past and our future as well.
Well, you talk about your kids, talk about the congregation too. What do you hope they get out of this time of year?
Honestly, I love the idea that it's a time to come together in joy and recognition of who God is. It's a time of thanksgiving. Many people hypothesize that the Puritans may have actually been attempting to commemorate what we know as Sukkot, which brought about what we now know in the States as Thanksgiving. And so it's this opportunity to thank God for His grace, His mercy, His provision that renews daily.
And in terms of this being a renewal time, you're coming off of a time of fasting and observance. Why is this such an important way to close out this time of year?
Because it's a chance to come back from being hungry. You know, Yom Kippur, we fast for 25 hours, and nobody likes that. It's not at all an enjoyable time, but with Sukkot, we get to rejoice, we get to have fun, and it's a commanded opportunity for joy and excitement, and to build in this idea of God's provision.
And very briefly, Rabbi, I wanted to also talk to you about the type of congregation you have. You are a Messianic Jew?
Correct. I'm a Messianic Jew, a Messianic rabbi, and our synagogue, Mayim Chaim, is a Messianic synagogue.
So what does that mean as opposed to like Orthodox or traditional or Reformed?
All of Judaism has longed for and been looking for the coming Messiah, and Messianic Judaism is a branch of Judaism that believes that he has already come in the person of Yeshua, or Jesus, as is known in English, and we are awaiting his return as Mashiach ben David, as the victorious Messiah, the victorious King.
All right, Rabbi David Tokajer with Mayim Chaim congregation in Baldwin County. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Faith Time and News 5 this morning. We'll continue after the break.